Today's news. Appeals Court refuses to replace prison sentence of Arif Hajili with house arrest. Hajiyev's trial to continue on May 10th. Press Council members discuss draft defamation law. Youth Forum demands freedom for arrested activists. OSCE announces Anti-Trafficking Week. Azerbaijan Security and Defense Public Association sees little progress in NATO-Azerbaijan cooperation.
Today, the Baku Appeals Court heard an appeal to challenge the Sabail District April 27th decision, which refused to fulfill a motion to replace the prison detention sentence of the head of the Musavat Party Central Executive Department, Arif Hajili, with house arrest, reported Hajili's attorney, Asabil Mustafayev, to Objective TV. Judge Aflatun Gasimov presided over the hearing. According to the attorney, the public prosecutor, investigator on the case, and defendant Arif Hajili were in attendance. First, a motion of 18 well-known Azerbaijani intellectuals requesting to release Hajili on bail was presented to the judge. After deliberation, the judge announced a decision not to grant the motion and upheld the Sabail court's decision. Hajili was detained on the April 2nd opposition protest and sentenced to 2 months of pretrial detention. He is being charged under Article 233 of the Criminal Code, involvement in activities to violate public order or active involvement in such activities. On April 27th, the Sabail District Court refused a motion filed by the defendant's side to replace the prison detention sentence with house arrest. Today, the Nizami District Court of Ganja held a trial in the criminal case against youth activist Bakhtiar Hajiyev, who has been charged with evasion of military service, reported the activist's attorney Elchin Namazov to Objective TV. On March 4th, Hajiyev was sentenced to 1 month's pretrial detention. It is widely thought that Hajiyev was arrested for his activity on social networking sites and his support of the March 11th Great People's Day campaign. First of all, the court heard a motion by well-known local intellectuals, Erkin Gadirlu, Hikmat Hajizadeh, and Zardust Alizadeh, requesting Hajiyev's release on bail under their guarantee. Then the defendant's side requested the court to allow the media to attend the trial. Judge Amin Akhundov rejected both motions. Deputy Chief of Ganja Temporary Detention Prison, Nizami Mehdiev, and Nizami District Police Office employee Vusal Shabandiev testified as witnesses. Hajiyev stated that the criminal charge brought against him has not been fairly investigated, and therefore he refused to attend the court investigation and also refused to hear the witnesses' testimonies. The defendant's attorneys wanted to make a speech, but the judge rescheduled the next hearing for May 10th. Six months ago, the political power was against releasing journalists from criminal responsibility for what they write. However, today's debate on the defamation bill in the Press Council suggests that the situation has changed. Chief editors of 2 pro-government newspapers, Azerbaijan, Bakhtiar Sadigov, and Yeni Azerbaijan, Hikmet Babaoglu, who previously opposed any concessions to the free press, spoke today about the necessity of adopting this law. We can begin to hope that after all the necessary consultations and political bargaining, the bill could be submitted to Parliament for first reading this autumn. The bill discussed today was modeled on European equivalents. The document is based on Article 10 of the European Convention for the Protection of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. According to lawyer Alasker Mamadlı, there are some inconsistencies between the provision of this bill and Article 283 of the Criminal Code of Azerbaijan, inciting national, racial, or religious hatred.
A youth forum on freedom for political prisoners was held at the Musavat Party office today. Youth committees of opposition parties and independent youth organizations discussed the political situation and recent arrests in the country. Heads of the youth committees noticed that the ruling regime has been particularly brutal against youth activists in its clampdown on the increasing civic activity in the country. They speculated that the arrests of Bakhtiar Hajiyev, Jabar Savalanlı, and the April 2nd protesters show that the authorities are afraid of the youth. They proposed to create a united defense committee to increase the effectiveness of the defense of those who have been arrested. The speakers discussed the internal and external support for the arrested youths and their legal struggles. The youths also noted that this forum demonstrates that they are not afraid of the authorities and will not give up, fearing repressions. They also spoke ironically about the promises made by President Ilham Aliyev at the meeting with pro-government youth about the housing problem for young people. They mean they will provide cells in Kudakani jail. The forum adopted a declaration calling upon the authorities to begin real reforms to solve the country's problems and to release all political prisoners. The statement was signed by youth branches of the Popular Front Party, the Musavat Party and the Azerbaijan Democratic Party, as well as youth organizations Free Youth, NIDA, December 10th, Youth Club and Positive Changes. In a press conference today, the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe announced Anti-Trafficking Week. Representatives of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Migration Centre, the American Bar Association, and experts and human rights defenders attended the conference. Melissa Stone, deputy head of the OSCE office in Baku, said that a similar campaign had also been held in 2010. By the end of that campaign, the anti-trafficking hotline number had received around 500 calls. She pointed out that one of the OSCE's main priorities is to defend and protect trafficking victims. Stone added that a regional conference will be held in Baku on this topic. Imran Najafov, Deputy Chief of the Anti-Trafficking Unit at the Ministry of Internal Affairs, said that Azerbaijan had joined the European Convention Against Trafficking on February 5, 2010. According to him, 34 victims of trafficking were discovered in 2010. 70 criminal cases were resolved. The one-off aid sum given to trafficking victims was increased from 33 AZN to 200. Najafov observed that most trafficking victims are taken to Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, sometimes to Russia and Iran. The head of the Migration Centre, Alavsed Aliyev, announced that the week-long campaign against human trafficking will be held from May 10th to May 16th. Booklets will be distributed to visitors at the airport, railway stations and seaport during the campaign. Meetings will be conducted to raise public awareness amongst young people particularly. A roundtable will be held on reforming local legislation to meet the standards of the European Convention Against Human Trafficking, and national TV channels will broadcast advertisements.
Today, the Azerbaijan Security and Defense Public Association held a roundtable titled Azerbaijan NATO 17, Successes, Failures, and Perspectives. Cooperation between Azerbaijan and NATO began in 1994. The first phase in the framework of the partnership was a Partnership for Peace program. The second phase was the Individual Partnership Action Plan. Azerbaijan-NATO cooperation did not extend beyond these two phases. Cooperation between Azerbaijan and NATO consists of two phases. Azerbaijan is lagging behind Ukraine and Georgia in this sphere, said Yashar Jafarlı, member of the Azerbaijan Security and Defense Public Association. Jafarlı also said that an agreement on the third phase was at one point said to have been signed last year, and in March 2011, neither of which turned out to be true. Military serviceman Dirim Mammadov said that although Azerbaijan has attended multiple events associated with NATO, there has not been significant progress in terms of developing this relationship. Jasur Surmerenli said that the third phase of the Individual Partnership Action Plan is not deemed a priority by the Ministry of Defense. According to him, there are problems associated with the NATO requirements for the local defense system.